World War III starts, and you're in the most isolated city on Earth. Do you breathe a sigh of relief because the missiles aren't aimed at Perth? Or do you start sweating because the next fuel tanker is 3,000 miles away? Most people see Western Australia as a safe haven, a vast buffer zone between them and a burning world. But here's the catch. Distance is a filter, and when trade breaks, that filter stops everything from medicine to engine oil. This is about what happens when the wait-and-see approach turns into a slow-motion blackout. Here are 5 civilian impacts for Perth, ranked from the slow-burn stress to the absolute daily life breakdown. We're assuming a high-intensity maritime conflict that doesn't target Perth directly, but chokes the Indian Ocean shipping lanes you rely on for everything.
Number 5. The inventory lag. Perth is a city built on the assumption that ships and trains will always arrive on a Tuesday. This place is comfortable, but it has no depth of stock for anything that doesn't grow in a field nearby. You see it in the way a simple rail line flood over east empties local supermarket shelves within 48 hours. The proof is in the just-in-time logistics model that Perth perfected because shipping large volumes across the Nullarbor is expensive. The mechanism here isn't a sudden famine. It's a gradual thinning of the world. You'll walk into a hardware store for a specific plumbing fitting or a replacement pump part, and the shelf will be empty. Then the back room will be empty. Then the supplier in Melbourne will tell you it's on back order from a factory that no longer has a shipping route to Fremont. The hidden tax is your time. You'll spend your Saturdays driving from suburb to suburb looking for a single battery or a specific size of tire. Most people try to panic buy the things they see on the news, like toilet paper. The better play is to look at your house right now and identify every mechanical system that requires a specialized part to function. If you wait for the shipping friction to start, you're competing with 2 million other people for the last box of spark plugs. If you're in Perth right now, start a maintenance bank. Keep 1 spare of every critical filter, belt, and fuse your home and vehicle require. That's how you stay ahead of the lag. This inventory friction is annoying, but it's manageable compared to when the pharmacy shelves go gray. If you're finding this breakdown useful for seeing the gap between safety and distance, like the video and follow along. We're building the signal you need to lead when things get loud.
Number 4. The medical dropout. This is the silent vulnerability that kills people long before a bullet does. Perth is geographically blessed, but medically dependent on complex global subcomponents. This city doesn't manufacture the advanced reagents or specialized insulin that a huge chunk of the population needs to stay vertical. The proof is in the distribution hubs. Most high-value pharmaceuticals are flown or shipped in from overseas through a handful of key nodes that are incredibly sensitive to cyber disruption. You think the hospital system is a fortress until the supply of sterile plastics or basic IV fluids gets diverted to a front line 3,000 miles away. When global shipping slows down, governments prioritize military hardware over civilian specialty meds. The catch is that you can't prepper your way out of a specialized prescription that requires a cold chain. Don't just assume the local chemist will have your refill. The safer call is to talk to your doctor about an emergency bridge, which is a legal way to have an extra 30 to 60 days of your essential maintenance meds on hand. Most people wait for the news report to tell them there's a shortage. By then, the queue at the pharmacy is already out the door. The medical dropout ranks higher than inventory lag because while you can live without a drill bit, you can't live without blood pressure management. This medical anxiety is a quiet killer, but it's aggravated by the literal lights going out.
Number 3. Power system concentration. Perth sits on what engineers call an islanded grid. It's not connected to the national network over east. While that sounds like a great defense against a cascade failure in Sydney, it means if Perth's internal generation or fuel gas supply takes a hit, there's no one to lean on. The proof is in the Swiss, the Southwest Interconnected System. It's a closed loop. If a major transformer or specialized turbine component fails due to a cyber strike or a lack of imported spare parts, you don't get a brownout, you get a blackout that lasts until a ship arrives with a fix. The mechanism here is the Inertia Gap. As we lean more on gas and renewables, the system's ability to recover from a sudden shock becomes much more fragile. If trade fragmentation stops the flow of specialized grid control electronics, a minor technical glitch can become a permanent localized failure. The hidden tax is the loss of your climate control and food preservation. Perth's summer isn't a joke. Without a grid, the city becomes a furnace. If the power starts cycling, don't just sit there watching the news. The better move is to immediately move your most critical thermal loads, like a deep freezer, to a dedicated small-scale solar backup or a fuel-efficient generator while you still have the fuel to run it. Most people will burn through their backup fuel trying to run their whole house like it's a normal Tuesday. You need to triage your electricity. This grid fragility is a massive physical hurdle, but even a working grid can't save you if the trucks aren't moving on the roads.
Number 2. Freight paralysis. Perth is the end of the line. Whether it's the rail from the east or the ships from the north, everything that feeds the city have to travel a long, lonely path. In a wartime scenario, the Indian Ocean becomes a gray zone. Insurance rates for cargo ships skyrocket, and the number of hulls willing to make the trip to Fremantle drops. Look at a map and find the distance between the port of Singapore and the port of Fremantle. It's a massive, unprotected stretch of water. The mechanism of failure here is the freight priority shift. When there are fewer ships, the government takes control of what's in the containers. Your luxury goods and even basic construction materials are bumped for national security priorities. The catch is that Perth's economy is built on export and import. When the freight stops, the paycheck stops shortly after. The friction here is the economic sudden stop. Don't rely on the big 2 supermarkets to solve this. The safer call is to establish a relationship with local producers in the Swan Valley or the Southwest now. If you can't buy it at a chain store because the ship didn't dock, you'll need a direct line to the person growing the potatoes 2 hours away. This ranks higher than the grid because while you can survive a dark house, you can't survive a dead economy and empty grocery aisles. But there is one thing that makes all of this look like a minor inconvenience.
Number 1. The refined fuel cliff. Perth has plenty of oil in the ground and gas in the pipes, but it has almost zero capacity to turn that into the diesel and petrol that runs your car, your tractors, and your delivery trucks. This is the existential bottleneck. Australia as a whole has one of the lowest fuel reserves in the developed world, and Perth is at the very tip of that spear. The proof is in the closure of local refineries. We now rely almost entirely on refined products coming in from mega refineries in Asia. You think you're safe because you live in a resource-rich state, but you can't pour crude oil into a truck engine. If conflict chokes the flow of refined tankers, Perth has a fuel clock that starts ticking the moment the last ship departs. The mechanism is simple. No diesel means no trucks. No trucks means no food in the supermarkets, no matter how many farms we have in the wheat belt. The hidden tax here is total immobility. If you see a 20-cent jump in fuel prices overnight combined with news of a maritime incident, that's your signal to top off every tank you own. Don't wait for the government to announce rationing. By the time they do, the lines at the BP will be 3 blocks long and guarded by police. The better move is to keep a rotating buffer of stabilized fuel at home. This isn't for a Mad Max scenario, but just to get your family to a safer location if the city's logistics collapse.
Number 1 beats everything else because fuel is the master key. Without it, the grid fails, the freight stops, and the isolation of Perth goes from a luxury to a prison. The reality is that Perth is a high-trust, high-functioning system that depends on low-friction global trade. When that trade hits the wall of World War III, the system doesn't break all at once. It thins out until it snaps. Your job isn't to save the city, it's to make sure your household isn't the one that snaps first. Tonight, I want you to do one thing. Go to your pantry and your medicine cabinet. Identify the one item that you use every single day that's made overseas. Now, go buy a 90-day supply of that one thing. Don't announce it, don't brag about it. Just build your buffer. If you're living in WA, what's the one shortage you've already noticed in the last year that worried you? Let me know in the comments. Let's see where the cracks are already forming. Stay sharp.